Some mornings, I lie in bed for an extra 10 minutes, staring at the ceiling, trying to remember what it felt like to breathe without that knot in my chest. It's not dramatic. It's not even all that unusual anymore. But it's heavy. Constant. Like a second skin I never asked for but now can't seem to shed. I'm 27, and if you'd asked me at 17 where I thought I'd be by now, I would have painted a picture that looks nothing like this. I thought I'd have my own apartment with a balcony full of plants, a job I was proud of, maybe even enough money to take my mom on a weekend trip somewhere quiet. I didn't imagine constantly checking my bank account before buying groceries or choosing between paying off a credit card and refilling a prescription. The economic environment, it sounds so distant and sterile when people talk about it like that. For me, it's the reason I buy store-brand peanut butter and ration my coffee grounds. It's why my phone is 2 generations behind and the screen has been cracked for months. It's the reason my dreams feel like things on a shelf I can't reach anymore. Rent went up again last month. It's the 3rd time in 2 years. I live in a 1-bedroom with a roommate, and we split $2,050, which honestly feels like a deal in this city. He's a bartender and pulls in better tips than I make some weeks at my customer service job, where the most consistent part of my day is apologizing to angry people over things I didn't cause and can't fix. My job doesn't offer benefits, so I pay out of pocket for everything. Or I don't. Last year, I skipped the dentist entirely. I have a degree. Communications. I used to believe it would open doors. But I graduated in 2020, right into the teeth of a global shutdown. By the time things recovered, entry-level jobs were flooded with overqualified applicants, and internships wanted years of experience. I waited tables, then took a temp job that turned into this full-time thing. It's not what I love. It's what I have. Every day, I make tiny calculations. Can I afford to take the subway, or should I walk? Should I say yes to dinner with friends, or will that overdraft me again? Should I keep pushing off those student loan payments, knowing the interest is quietly breeding in the background like mold? The weight of these decisions isn't always visible. But it's there. In the tension in my jaw. In how I count out dollar bills before the cashier even tells me the total. In how I hesitate before opening emails from my bank. My coping mechanisms are a patchwork of borrowed strength and small comforts. I journal. Not every day, but often enough. I read a lot. Books are like tiny portals out of my life, even if just for an hour. Sometimes I sit in the park and just watch people walk by, letting my brain rest. When I can, I take free yoga classes online. Breathing feels like rebellion when the world wants you to panic. I've had to shelve a lot of things I used to think were inevitable. Travel, for one. I wanted to see Ireland, where my grandmother was from. I used to daydream about hiking the cliffs she talked about. But I can't justify a plane ticket when I can't even afford car repairs. I also wanted to go back to school eventually, maybe pivot into counseling or something more meaningful. But every time I think about taking out more loans, I feel like I might throw up. Sometimes I feel angry. Not just because things are hard, but because it feels like the system is rigged to keep them that way. Like no matter how hard I work, I'm just trying to stay afloat in a storm that never ends. People say to cut back, budget better, work harder, but there's only so much blood you can squeeze from a stone. I'm not lazy. I'm not irresponsible. I'm just exhausted. But I haven't given up. Not entirely. I don't know what that says about me. Maybe I'm stubborn. Maybe it's hope. Maybe it's just survival instinct. I still believe in small joys. The smell of rain on pavement. A really good laugh with a friend. When a stranger holds the door open for me and I didn't expect it. Those moments remind me that life isn't all numbers and bills and rising costs. My biggest dream right now is stability. Not riches. Just enough to breathe. To plan more than 2 weeks ahead. To not have my heart race when I swipe my debit card. I want to believe there's a version of this life where I don't feel like I'm being slowly crushed. Some days I can see it, blurry and far away, like headlights through fog. Other days, it feels like a cruel mirage. But I'm still here. Still waking up. Still trying. Still hoping that someday, surviving won't feel like my full-time job. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I wake up to the sound of my alarm, the same one I've set for the last few years, always a bit too loud, always a little too early. It's 6:30 a.m., and the first thought in my head, before I even open my eyes, is about money. Specifically, how much I don't have. It's a weird thing, waking up with that kind of weight in your chest every day. You learn to ignore it, in a way. Or at least, you pretend like you're ignoring it, hoping the day ahead won't be just as draining as the one before. But it always is, and you've already learned that there's no point in hoping for anything more than survival. I roll out of bed, trying not to disturb my roommate, Claire. She's already up, though, making coffee in the kitchen. I can hear the faint sound of the coffee machine gurgling. She's always up early, always seems to have her life together in a way that I can never quite reach. When I get to the kitchen, she smiles at me, but it's a smile that feels a little too perfect, like she's trying to convince herself that everything is okay. I envy that ability, the way she can pretend, if only for a moment, that life isn't quietly squeezing the life out of her. I grab my coffee, slouch into the couch, and pull out my phone to check my bank account. The numbers are what they always are, barely enough to cover my bills, let alone put aside anything for the future. The most frustrating part? It's not like I'm not trying. I work 2 jobs, sometimes 3. I've even cut down on almost every non-essential thing, no more eating out, no more going out with friends, no more buying things that aren't absolute necessities. But somehow, it's never enough. The rent goes up, utilities climb, gas prices soar, and then there's that small, ever-growing list of things you don't realize you need until you absolutely need them, like a new pair of shoes or a doctor's visit. The worst part isn't even the money itself, it's the way it messes with your mind. The constant hum of worry, the small decisions that seem so trivial but end up making you feel so small. Do I buy lunch today, or do I bring leftovers from last night? Should I pay for the bus ride, or walk, even though it means an extra half hour of time spent on my feet? The choices are always about survival, about squeezing the last drop of possibility out of what I have, and it wears you down. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to not have to think about money at all. To buy a new shirt without wondering if it'll put me behind on the rent. To treat myself to a night out with friends without calculating how many hours I'd have to work to make up for the cost. To go to bed without feeling a pit in my stomach because I know the next morning's decisions will be just as difficult as the ones today. Claire notices the look on my face. She's good at reading me, even when I'm trying to hide it. "You okay?" she asks, gently. "Yeah," I reply, forcing a smile. "Just tired." I am tired. Not in the way that sleep solves. I'm tired in a way that makes me question everything I've worked for and everything I'm still working toward. Some days, it feels like I'm running in place, spinning my wheels, and no matter how much I try to push forward, it's never enough. It's like being trapped in this unspoken system where your worth is measured by how much you can produce, but you're constantly just scraping by. The economy is this endless machine, a system that's rigged to keep some people comfortable while others, like me, just try not to sink under the weight of it all. I head out for my first job, a part-time gig at a local cafe. It's not glamorous, but it's steady. I've been working there for 2 years now, and I've gotten to know the regulars and the rhythm of the place. Still, there's always this underlying feeling of not belonging. Like everyone else has figured it out, and I'm just here, treading water. The work isn't the issue, it's the pay. Even after tips, even after busting my ass to make the shifts work, it's barely enough. But quitting feels like giving up on the only thing that's stable in my life. At the cafe, I get to talking with one of the other baristas, Adam. He's been here longer than I have, and we've shared a lot of complaints about the low wages, the long hours, and how much of our energy we've poured into jobs that never seem to care back. Adam jokes about starting a side hustle, but he's realistic too. He knows that even if he works another 30 hours a week, it won't be enough to make a real difference. It's funny how even the conversations around money feel so heavy. No one really wants to talk about it out loud, but you all know it's the thing that's holding you back, the thing that keeps you from sleeping peacefully at night. When my shift ends, I head straight to my second job, which is just a few blocks away. It's more of the same, serving, waiting tables, barely scraping by. The hours stretch on, the exhaustion piles up, but what's the alternative? Without the second job, I wouldn't even be able to afford the basic things. It's that simple, and that cruel. By the time I get home at night, Claire is already in bed. I take a quick shower, eat a bowl of cereal, and sit down with my laptop. I check my bank account again, just to see if there's any chance that the numbers will magically improve. They never do. I try to set up a budget, but every time I do, I end up with more things to pay than I have money for. It's an endless cycle of living paycheck to paycheck, always teetering on the edge of financial ruin. I should feel lucky, though. I remind myself of that. At least I have a roof over my head, a job, some form of stability. But even that feels like a constant balancing act. The worst part of it all is how it chips away at your dreams. I used to have so many things I wanted to do: travel, pursue a career in graphic design, maybe even move to a bigger city and start over. But now, all of that feels like it's slipping further and further away. Sometimes, I wonder what would happen if I just walked away from it all. If I packed up my things, moved somewhere with a lower cost of living, and tried to start fresh. But I know that's a fantasy. The bills would follow me, the debts would still be there, the struggle would just take on a new form. So instead, I keep going. I keep working the same jobs, keeping my head down, and hoping that maybe, just maybe, things will get better. But in the back of my mind, I know that the hope is becoming harder and harder to hold on to. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. I know there are people out there struggling much more than I am. But sometimes, it's just hard to not feel like you're running on empty, like you're stuck in a system that's built to leave you behind, no matter how hard you try to catch up. I wonder if it'll always be this way. I wonder if, at some point, I'll look back at these years and realize that I never really had a chance to do anything I wanted to do. And I wonder if I'll be okay with that. Maybe that's the hardest part, living in a world where it feels like everything is just out of reach, and the things you want most are the things you're too tired to even dream about anymore. I never used to think about money this much. It wasn't until I got my first job out of college that I started feeling like I was always just a few steps away from falling behind. There was a time when I used to think that if I worked hard enough, I'd be fine, that if I just kept pushing, all the dreams I had for myself would eventually be within reach. I guess that's what they tell you when you're younger. Work hard, make sacrifices, and one day you'll get everything you want. I believed that for a long time. But here I am, 25 years old, feeling like I'm constantly suffocating under the weight of a system that's rigged to make sure I never really get ahead. I don't know when it happened, exactly, when my hope started turning into dread, but I can pinpoint the moment when I realized I wasn't going to be able to live the life I thought I'd have. The first time I noticed it was when I went grocery shopping one weekend. I used to love picking out what I wanted to eat, cooking felt like something I could control. But lately, every trip has felt like a game of strategy. I walk into the store, and I have a mental list of what I need: eggs, bread, a couple of veggies, and maybe something sweet if I have room in my budget. But as I make my way through the aisles, the prices on everything keep rising. I can't remember the last time I didn't see a price hike on at least one thing. Milk? Up again. Pasta? Even that's more expensive than it was last month. I stand in the aisle and do this mental math, trying to figure out how I can stretch my $50 to cover everything I need. I end up cutting corners, substituting cheaper options for things I actually want, and leaving the store with that familiar sense of defeat. It's not just the grocery store. It's everything. Rent has gone up. Gas prices keep spiking, and I don't even want to talk about student loan payments. I used to get excited about the idea of being an adult, all that stuff they tell you when you're growing up. But I never anticipated that adulthood would feel like this, trapped. The world keeps moving forward, getting more expensive, and no matter how much I try to hustle, my income just doesn't keep up. I remember when I first got my job after graduation. It felt like a small victory, like, okay, this is it. I'm on my way. My salary wasn't huge, but it was enough, right? I was going to be able to make it work. I was going to save up, get a place of my own, maybe travel a little. I imagined building a future for myself, brick by brick. But now, every month is just about survival. I work as a marketing assistant at a small firm, and I'm grateful to have a job at all, but it feels like the harder I work, the less I'm able to do with the money I make. I get paid twice a month, and it's like this endless cycle of watching my bank account drain even though I haven't done anything luxurious. The bills, rent, utilities, car insurance, credit cards, groceries, just eat up every dollar. I have to remind myself not to panic every time I check my balance. It's always just enough to get by, but never enough to feel like I'm moving forward. Some days, I lie awake at night, my mind spinning, wondering how long I can keep this up. What happens if I get sick and can't work? What if something unexpected happens and I can't cover it? The fear of slipping just a little bit feels overwhelming sometimes. I used to have dreams, big ones. I wanted to start a small business. I thought maybe I'd write a book one day. I thought maybe I'd be able to take a year off and travel, see the world while I was still young. Now, those things feel so far out of reach that I've stopped talking about them. I don't even want to share them with my friends anymore, because it's like admitting I've failed before I even started. So instead, I make little sacrifices here and there, pretending it's okay. I tell myself that I'm doing fine, that this is just the grind, that everyone goes through it. But it doesn't stop the constant feeling of tension in my chest. Sometimes, I feel like I've become numb to it all. I've learned to push aside the things I used to care about because they cost too much. I haven't gone out with my friends in months. Every time I think about doing something fun, I check my bank account, and it's just not worth it. I scroll through social media and see people going on trips, buying new things, having experiences, and I feel this ache in my stomach, a reminder that I'm stuck. It's hard not to compare myself to everyone else. I see people my age posting their lives, pictures from the beach, dinners out, new gadgets, new clothes, and I wonder how they're managing it. Maybe they have more support, maybe their families help them out, maybe they don't care about the same things I do. But it still hurts. I've had to learn to take things day by day, to make my peace with the fact that I can't afford the things I want. Sometimes, I can't even afford the things I need. There's a sense of guilt that comes with it, too. Like I'm doing something wrong by not being able to make ends meet in this economy. Maybe it's my fault for choosing this career. Maybe I should have done something else. But every time I think that, I'm reminded that I don't have the luxury of choice. I have to make do with what's available to me. I can't afford to go back to school right now, even if I think it might help me get ahead. I've started to let go of some of my dreams, those bigger ones, the ones that seem impossible now. I've stopped planning for a future that feels distant, unreachable. Instead, I focus on getting through today. How can I make the rent this month? How can I save a little bit for emergencies? I don't let myself dream too much anymore because it feels painful to want things that aren't possible. But even as I feel trapped, I try to hold on to small glimmers of hope. I keep a journal, and in it, I write down things I'm grateful for, things that give me a sense of peace. It's not much, but it helps. I remind myself that I'm still moving, still working hard, still doing my best. Some days, that's enough. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if things will ever get better, or if they'll keep getting harder. But for now, I'll keep moving forward, even if it's just a little bit at a time. It's hard to hope for more, but I can't give up on the possibility that one day, I'll have the life I've dreamed of. I just have to keep fighting for it, even if I can't see the way forward right now. I don't know when the weight of money became so suffocating. I always thought adults had it figured out, what to do, how to balance things, what it means to be independent. But now, every time I sit down to write out my budget, I feel the same thing, this quiet, nagging sense of panic that's become so familiar, it's almost like a friend. It's not like I'm drowning in debt, not yet. I don't have credit card bills piling up or loans I can't pay off. But I can see how it might get there. I'm working full-time at a job that, on paper, seems decent. I'm a digital marketing coordinator at a small company in the city. The work's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. Except, it doesn't. Not really. Rent alone is 60% of my paycheck. I share a tiny apartment with a roommate, but it's still more than I ever imagined I'd be paying for a place so small. And yet, every month, I just write the check. What else can I do? I can't move back in with my parents, they've already got their own financial struggles, and anyway, I've been gone too long. I can't go without a place to live. So, it's this weird sort of resigned acceptance I feel when the rent comes out of my bank account. It's as if the money is just disappearing right before my eyes. Food? That's a balancing act, too. I've started shopping at the discount stores, buying generic everything, cutting out things I used to treat myself to, good coffee, fresh fruit. I eat a lot of pasta now. A lot of frozen vegetables. A lot of things I don't actually like, but they fill me up. I've read somewhere that you are what you eat, but lately, I've been wondering if I'm just a reflection of the constant anxiety I feel. The hours spent calculating how much I can spend without having to dip into my savings. Savings. I wish I could say I had any. But my savings are more like an emergency fund for when something inevitably breaks. A leaky pipe, a tire blowout, or, God forbid, a medical expense. The truth is, I don't have the luxury of saving for things I actually want. Not a vacation. Not a new laptop. Definitely not a car. There are days I wonder if I'll ever get to that point where I can feel like I'm not just surviving. Sometimes, I sit down and make a list of what I'd really like to do with my life. The kind of person I want to be, the places I want to visit, the experiences I want to have. But then my phone buzzes with a reminder to pay my student loan, or my credit card bill is due, or the rent's coming up again, and it feels as if those dreams are getting further and further away. Do you know what it's like to look at a dream, to hold it in your mind like it's something you can almost touch, but then feel like there's a wall between you and it, an invisible wall that keeps growing higher the more you struggle to climb it? That's how I feel every time I think about my future. I used to think that if I just worked hard enough, just put in the hours, I'd eventually break free from this constant cycle of financial stress. But now, I'm not sure. The more I try, the more it seems like the goalposts keep moving. Rent goes up. Groceries go up. Even the little things, the $5 coffee that feels like an indulgence now, the movie tickets I used to buy on a whim, are increasingly out of reach. I've learned how to say no to myself more times than I care to count. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone in this. Everyone I know is struggling with something similar. Some have it worse, people I know who are working 2 jobs, living paycheck to paycheck, wondering how they'll make it through the next month. And some have it better, with family help, or better paying jobs, or a bit of luck on their side. But mostly, we're all just trying to stay afloat in a system that seems to reward the people who already have everything. The ones who don't feel the pressure. I know I'm supposed to feel hopeful, right? There's always this pressure from society to stay positive, to trust the process. But it's hard to stay positive when you're watching your bank account shrink every time you log in, and you're constantly making decisions based on what you can't afford. When you can't even go out for a drink with friends without thinking about how much that'll cost you. When the idea of buying a new pair of shoes seems impossible. When the next paycheck feels like it's already spoken for before it even hits your account. I cope by distracting myself. I've gotten really good at binge-watching shows late into the night, scrolling through social media while my brain tries to convince me that maybe, just maybe, I'm not doing everything wrong. Maybe things will get better. But in the quiet moments, when the screen goes dark and I can't ignore the weight of everything anymore, that's when the fear creeps in. I'm scared that this is it, that I'll never break free from this. That I'll always be living on the edge, always just one unexpected expense away from falling apart. I try to remind myself that I'm doing the best I can. I try to focus on the things I can control, my work, my routines, my friendships, but it feels like I'm running in place, like I'm stuck in a loop. How do you keep going when it feels like you're not getting anywhere? When you know you're working hard, but the goalpost just keeps moving? Sometimes I think about the things I used to dream about. I wanted to travel, to see the world, to explore new places and meet new people. I wanted to start a business, to do something that mattered, to create something that could make a difference. But now, all I want is to have the space to breathe without feeling like I'm being crushed under a mountain of bills and expenses. I just want a little bit of breathing room. Is that too much to ask? Some days I'm okay. I remind myself that I'm young, that I have time to figure things out. I remind myself that I'm not alone, that there are others out there struggling just like me. But other days, the weight feels unbearable. I wonder how long I can keep pushing, how long I can keep trying to make it work before something gives. And I wonder if I'll ever get to a point where I can stop worrying about money, where I can start dreaming again without feeling like I'm being held back by invisible chains. I try to hold on to the small victories, the moments when I don't overspend, the moments when I manage to save a little, the moments when I feel like I've gained a tiny bit of control. I try to remember that even though I'm not where I thought I'd be by now, I'm still moving forward, even if it's just by an inch. But it's hard. It's hard when the world around you seems so out of reach, and the cost of everything keeps going up while your paycheck stays the same. I guess, for now, all I can do is keep moving forward, one small step at a time, and hope that one day, I'll be able to look back on this period of my life and see it as just a phase. A difficult one, sure, but just a phase. For now, I keep hoping that something will change, that one day I'll get the chance to live without the constant pressure of finances hanging over me. But hope, I've learned, doesn't always pay the bills. Some days, I feel like I'm holding my life together with duct tape and stubbornness. I'm 29, I have a degree, I work full-time, and I'm broke. That sentence still feels surreal to say out loud, like I'm the punchline to a bad joke about adulthood. But it's the truth. I earn just enough to cover the basics, rent, food, transportation, and not much else. There's no cushion, no savings. Just an endless cycle of bills, stress, and creative budgeting. I live in a small studio apartment in a city that feels increasingly hostile to people like me, working-class young adults who don't have family money to fall back on. My rent is more than half my monthly income, and it increases by at least $100 every year. Groceries, gas, insurance, everything's more expensive now. I used to buy fresh produce. These days, I buy what's cheap and lasts the longest. Potatoes, canned beans, pasta. Sometimes, I skip meals to make things stretch. Sometimes, I pretend I'm not hungry when I am. I work as a customer support specialist at a mid-sized tech company. It's not glamorous, but I'm good at it. I help frustrated users troubleshoot issues and listen patiently while they vent. But there's no path upward. Raises are small and infrequent, and the cost of living climbs faster than my paycheck ever does. I've taken on gig work, freelance copywriting, tutoring, just to keep up. I work weekends. I don't rest much. And when I do, I feel guilty. What keeps me up at night isn't just the math of it all. It's the feeling of being stuck in a system where the rules are rigged. I did everything I was supposed to do, went to college, took internships, avoided debt where I could. Still, I'm drowning in student loans and scraping by. Meanwhile, people with wealth buy homes, invest, take vacations, build futures. I can't even afford a dental visit. The economic pressure weighs on me in invisible ways. It shapes my relationships. I avoid dating because I'm ashamed of my financial state. I dodge social events unless they're free. My friends are kind, but I know they don't fully understand. Just save a little each month, they say. As if I haven't tried. As if the problem is me, not the way this economy eats people alive. It's exhausting, pretending I'm fine. I wear the same few outfits on rotation. I cut my own hair. I watch every dollar like a hawk. When something breaks, my phone, my shoes, my laptop, I spiral. There's no room for error in my world. One bad week, one missed check, and I could be out on the street. I've had to let go of so many dreams. I once wanted to be a writer. I had this vision of publishing a novel, traveling, maybe teaching creative writing someday. Now, writing is something I do when I'm too anxious to sleep. The stories I used to create feel far away, luxuries I can't afford. I wanted to go back to school for a master's degree. I wanted to live abroad. I wanted stability, joy, choices. All of it's on hold indefinitely. And yet, I keep going. Not because I'm some kind of hero, but because I don't know what else to do. I keep a notebook where I write small victories, paid off a credit card. Got a freelance gig. Cooked a good meal. Called my mom. These things remind me that I'm still trying, still human. Some days, I cry in the shower where no one can hear me. Some days, I laugh with coworkers over stupid memes, and it feels like a tiny reprieve. Some days, I look at the sky and think, maybe next year will be better. I've stopped expecting things to get easier. But I haven't stopped hoping. Hope is quieter now. It's less about big dreams and more about small moments of peace. I hope for a day when I don't have to check my bank account 5 times before buying groceries. I hope for a night when I can fall asleep without worrying about bills. I hope for a future where people like me aren't treated like failures just because we're broken a broken system. I don't know what's next. But I'm still here. Still fighting. Still hoping. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. I never thought I'd still be living like this at 27. When I was younger, I believed in the basic promise, study hard, get a degree, work hard, and you'll be okay. Not rich, necessarily, but okay. I wasn't aiming for luxury, just a decent apartment, a car that starts every morning, maybe enough money to grab dinner with friends once in a while without checking my bank account first. But that's not how it turned out. I live in a small studio apartment with paper-thin walls and a rent that's climbed 3 times in the past 2 years. I work full-time in marketing at a mid-sized company, and I freelance on the side, mostly graphic design work that I pick up on weekends and evenings. Despite that, I'm still juggling bills every month like it's a magic trick. I split groceries into absolutely now and maybe next week categories. I check my bank balance before I buy toilet paper. Some days, I don't even feel poor. I feel like I'm drowning in slow motion. The numbers don't lie, rent up 8%, groceries up 12%, insurance up again, streaming subscriptions that used to cost $9 now pushing $18. But my paycheck? Stagnant. A 3% raise that doesn't cover half of inflation. It's not just the money. It's the message behind it, your effort is worth less every year. I try to stay grateful. I know others have it worse. I'm not homeless. I eat. I have a job and health insurance, even if the deductible is so high I haven't gone to the doctor in 14 months. But some mornings I wake up and feel like I'm walking a tightrope, one unexpected car repair or a medical bill away from a financial free fall. It's hard not to feel bitter. I did everything they said. I got good grades. I interned for free. I networked. I built a portfolio. And yet here I am, calculating how many days I can stretch my last loaf of bread before I need to buy another. I avoid social media lately. Seeing friends buying houses, posting engagement rings, going on vacations, it stings. I know it's not the whole story, that some of them have help from their parents or debt they don't talk about, but still. I can't help comparing. My biggest splurge this month was a second-hand jacket I found at a thrift store for $12. It felt like a luxury. I used to dream about traveling. I wanted to backpack across Europe, learn to surf in Costa Rica, maybe even live in Japan for a year. I still want those things, but the dreams are softer now, like echoes of someone else's voice. Some days they don't feel like dreams anymore, just reminders of how far I've drifted from who I thought I'd be by now. Dating is another story. I postponed relationships more times than I can count. Not because I don't want love, but because I feel like I have nothing to offer. How do you build a life with someone when you're still trying to build a life at all? I don't want to bring someone into this mess, into the stress and budgeting apps and sleepless nights where I stare at the ceiling, adding up bills in my head. There's also the shame. No one really talks about it, but it's heavy. Like I'm failing at something everyone else is managing to do. I know it's systemic, I do. Wages haven't kept up with inflation in decades, and the cost of living is ridiculous. But even understanding that doesn't always help. It still feels personal. I cope the best I can. I journal. I cook from scratch when I have the energy, it makes me feel more in control. I walk a lot, especially when the anxiety gets loud. I've started going to the library again, rediscovering the quiet joy of free books and dusty sunlight in the reading rooms. Sometimes, when the future feels too heavy to think about, I try to stay in the moment. I focus on small victories, a bill paid on time, a good night's sleep, a kind word from a friend. And I hold on to hope, stubbornly. Not the big, naive kind I used to have. But something smaller. Realer. I hope for a year where I don't have to choose between therapy and car insurance. I hope to save enough to visit my best friend in another state. I hope, eventually, for a life where the ground doesn't feel like it's always shifting under me. Sometimes, late at night, I write. Little things, half-finished poems, notes to a future version of myself who made it out, scraps of short stories that carry tiny pieces of me. I don't know if I'll ever publish anything, but writing reminds me that I exist beyond survival. I've learned how to be resourceful. I've learned how to live with less, to stretch time and money and energy like taffy. But I've also learned how lonely this all is, how invisible you can feel in a system designed to squeeze you dry. There's a quote I read once that said, "It's not that you're living beyond your means. It's that your means are shrinking beneath your feet." That's what it feels like. Like I'm constantly adjusting to something smaller, and smaller, until I wonder if there'll be anything left. But I'm still here. I'm still trying. And maybe that counts for something. The weight of the world doesn't always feel heavy, but sometimes it presses down on me all at once, making it hard to breathe. It's a constant, low hum in the back of my mind that never quite lets me forget where I am. I'm 24. I've got a degree, a job, and an apartment I can barely afford. And yet, I spend most of my days wondering how I got here, how everything, every single thing, seems to cost more than I can possibly earn. I remember when I thought my future would be different. I had all these plans, all these big dreams. I imagined a job I loved, a little place of my own, maybe even a bit of travel. I thought I would be able to breathe easy. But instead, I spend my time navigating a world that feels like it's on a runaway train, moving faster than I can keep up. It's not like I didn't try. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to, working hard, paying bills on time, saving a little when I can. But the truth is, it's never enough. Every month feels like I'm treading water, just barely staying afloat. I wake up and check my bank account, already knowing it's not going to look good, but still hoping for some miracle. I get hit with the reality every time: rent is due, the car payment is due, utilities, groceries, insurance, gas. It's a list that keeps growing and growing. And somehow, my paycheck never seems to grow with it. I don't think people really understand how exhausting it is, how every decision feels like a compromise. I try not to think about the fact that I'm always choosing between food and something like a new pair of shoes, or skipping a social event to save on gas. I don't even remember the last time I treated myself to something small without feeling guilty about it. I remember seeing an old friend post a picture of herself on vacation a few months ago, and I realized I hadn't been on a vacation in years. How could I? There's no extra money to even think about going anywhere. My evenings are spent juggling the stress of unpaid bills and making mental calculations in my head. If I get this bill paid, will I be able to get through the next month without falling behind? It's all about staying one step ahead of the avalanche. I'm constantly trying to figure out how to make the money stretch, how to make my life fit into the budget that barely exists. Every day feels like I'm fighting against the current, but I'm always behind. I can't help but feel trapped. I never planned for this. No one told me how much of adulthood would be spent simply trying to survive financially. I know it's not just me, everyone I talk to is struggling with the same thing. It's like there's this unspoken rule that we're all supposed to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, but the bootstraps are frayed and breaking. And even if I manage to get out of this mess, the economy is only getting worse. Inflation is out of control. Wages are stagnant. It feels like every time I take a step forward, the world pulls me back 2 steps. I'm stuck in this constant loop of working to survive, but not living. I haven't been able to save for anything meaningful, like a house or starting a family or any of the things I used to think would come so naturally. I used to dream about buying my own place, having a little garden, getting a dog, simple things. Now, it feels like that dream is so far out of reach that it's not even worth thinking about. And then there's the guilt. I'm supposed to have it together by now, right? I see people my age posting about their accomplishments, their promotions, their vacations. And I wonder what I'm doing wrong. Why can't I figure it out? Why is it that everyone else seems to have their finances in order, while I'm here, counting pennies and feeling like I'm drowning in bills? On some days, I try to remind myself that I'm not alone in this. I tell myself that everyone is facing similar struggles. But there's a feeling of isolation that comes with financial stress. I don't talk about it with anyone. How could I? It feels too personal, too shameful. It's easier to pretend everything is fine, to put on a brave face and say I'm doing well, even when I'm not. Some days, I don't even know how I'm going to make it through. I feel like my entire life is a series of deadlines, rent due, credit card payment due, student loan payment due, and it never ends. I try not to let it consume me, but it's hard when it's all you can think about. I find myself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if things will ever change. I want to believe that there's a way out, that one day I'll be able to breathe without worrying about money. But right now, the horizon seems so distant. I've thought about quitting my job. Not because I don't like it, but because sometimes it feels like there's no point. The pay isn't enough, the opportunities for advancement feel slim, and no matter how much I work, it's never enough to really get ahead. It's the same with everything else. I look around at all these things I want, stability, security, comfort, and I realize that these things are luxuries now, things that might be attainable in some far-off future. But right now? I'm just trying to make it through the day. There are moments, fleeting ones, when I wonder what it would feel like to actually live. To enjoy my life without constantly thinking about how much money I'm spending, or how I'm going to make it through the month. Sometimes, when I let myself dream, I think about the person I could be, someone with a bit of security, someone who isn't always anxious about what comes next. But then I remember, dreams cost money. And right now, there's no room for them. I've postponed almost everything. That trip to Europe I always wanted to take? Gone. Saving for a car that doesn't break down every other month? Not happening. Those small comforts, the things I once thought were essential, feel like they belong to another life. Maybe someday I'll get out of this cycle. Maybe someday I'll find a way to feel secure, to stop worrying every time I open my wallet. But right now, I'm just holding on. And sometimes, that's all I can do. Somewhere deep inside, I'm still clinging to that hope. Maybe it's naive, maybe it's stupid, but I'm holding on to the idea that things can get better. That the future, no matter how far away it feels, could be a place where I don't have to wake up every day with the weight of financial pressure pushing down on me. Maybe, just maybe, I'll find a way to make it through. But for now, all I can do is survive. I wake up to the sound of my alarm blaring, the same way it does every morning. The room is still dark, the weight of the world already pressing against my chest. Another day, another round of calculations in my head, trying to figure out how I'll make it through another month. The bills are piling up, the rent's due soon, and the idea of even thinking about my student loans feels like an instant headache. I sit up in bed, rubbing my eyes, trying to ignore the gnawing feeling in my stomach. I know it's just anxiety, but sometimes it feels like it's more than that. It feels like I'm suffocating. The weight of the constant pressure to keep up, to make ends meet, to somehow survive in a world that doesn't seem to care. At 24, I thought I'd be doing better by now. I thought I'd be in a stable place, maybe working a job that didn't leave me drained at the end of the day, a little more financially comfortable. But it feels like I'm stuck. The cost of living is rising faster than my paycheck can keep up, and no matter how hard I work, I always feel like I'm falling behind. It's like being on a treadmill that's moving too fast, and I'm just trying to keep up, but I can't. I get dressed and look in the mirror, wondering if I look as tired as I feel. My face is drawn, and there are dark circles under my eyes. The sleepless nights are taking their toll. I haven't been able to afford a proper vacation in years, and at this rate, it feels like I never will. Every time I try to set something aside for myself, an unexpected expense shows up. A flat tire, an overdue fee for a late bill, something always comes up. The walk to work isn't long, but it feels like it stretches on forever. I've learned to expect the worst, so when my bus arrives late, I'm not surprised. It's like the universe has an uncanny ability to add to my stress at the worst possible times. I try to shake off the frustration as I make my way to the office, but the truth is, I'm already feeling drained by the time I get there. I'm surrounded by people, but I feel alone in this struggle. Work isn't much better. I'm grateful to have a job, but sometimes, the constant grind feels like a trap. I'm doing work that doesn't inspire me, just a series of tasks that I have to complete to make it through the day. There's little room for growth, and the opportunities that once seemed promising now feel out of reach. My coworkers are friendly, but I can't help but notice the quiet tension in the air. Everyone's worried. We're all worried. We talk about raises that never come, how inflation is eating away at our paychecks, how the price of groceries is more than we can bear. There's a meeting with HR in the afternoon, and as I sit there listening to them talk about opportunities for advancement, I can't help but feel like I'm drowning. How do they expect us to advance when the cost of everything is going up, but the raises are non-existent? The pressure builds, and it's hard to focus on anything they're saying. All I can think about is how, despite all my hard work, I'm barely scraping by. When I finally make it home, the exhaustion hits me like a wave. I drop my bag on the floor and collapse onto the couch. It feels like my mind is running 1,000 miles an hour, but there's no space to think about anything other than money. My bank account is lower than I'd like to admit, and I know that I'm going to have to dip into savings again to cover next month's rent. But there's no other option. I don't have any other choice. I used to dream about what my life would look like at this age. I thought I'd be traveling, living in a place I loved, maybe working on something that made me excited to get up in the morning. But those dreams feel distant now, like they belong to a version of me that doesn't exist anymore. I haven't taken a vacation in years. I haven't been able to afford a nice dinner out in what feels like forever. Every time I think about doing something for myself, there's a voice that reminds me that I can't. I have to save. I have to pay the bills. I can't afford to have fun. There's always a reason to hold back, to make another sacrifice, and it's exhausting. But even though I'm tired, there's this quiet part of me that refuses to give up. There has to be something more than this, right? There has to be a way to escape this endless cycle of working and struggling and barely scraping by. I keep reminding myself that this won't last forever, that I can figure something out. But sometimes it feels like I'm just waiting for a break that never comes. I've started to question everything. I wonder if this is what life is supposed to be like. If the endless struggle is just part of the deal. If all these sacrifices will eventually pay off, or if I'm just spinning my wheels in a system that's designed to keep people like me stuck. I watch the news, hear about the cost of living soaring, about how wages haven't kept pace with inflation, and it just feels like the odds are stacked against me. But then I think about the little things. The moments that bring a brief sense of relief, like when I get a good night's sleep or when I have a moment of quiet where I'm not worrying about money. Those small victories are what get me through the day. They remind me that even though everything feels heavy, I'm still here. I'm still pushing forward. I've started to realize that maybe it's okay not to have everything figured out right now. Maybe it's okay to take things one day at a time. I've had to push back a lot of my dreams, and that's hard. It hurts. I thought I'd have more by now. But I'm still here, still trying, still fighting. And maybe that's enough for now. One day, I hope things will get better. I hope that the cycle will break, that I'll be able to find a way to live comfortably without constantly worrying about money. But for now, I just have to keep going. Because even though it feels like I'm trapped in a system that's designed to keep me down, I'm not giving up. I won't. I just have to keep reminding myself that this is temporary, that things will change, that my hard work will eventually pay off. I don't know when that will happen, but I'll keep hoping. I'll keep dreaming, even if those dreams are smaller now. Even if it's just about making it through another day, another week, another month. Because the thought of giving up is scarier than any of the challenges I'm facing now. So, for today, I'll keep moving forward. And maybe tomorrow, things will look a little brighter. Maybe tomorrow, I'll find a way to make my dreams a little closer to reality. But until then, I'll keep trying. Because that's all I can do. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when it all started to feel like I was drowning. It wasn't a single moment, just a slow, steady accumulation of tiny, relentless events that pushed me deeper. But one thing I know for sure, every day feels like a battle against the clock and my bank account. I'm 26. I have a degree, a job I sort of like, and a modest apartment that barely fits all my things. But none of that seems to matter when I check my account balance after rent is paid, after utilities, after gas, after groceries. The numbers don't add up. They never add up. They just get smaller. It's hard to explain to anyone who hasn't lived it, but the weight of those numbers is all-consuming. They settle in your chest, and you start to believe that's all you'll ever be, just another person stuck in a system that's too big, too broken, too fast for you to keep up with. My job is in marketing. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills, sort of. It's a solid position, and I've learned a lot, but the pay is nothing compared to what I was promised when I finished school. They told me I'd be set once I got my degree. They said it would open doors, but they didn't mention how many of those doors would be locked by salary caps, by cost of living, by bills that grow faster than you can raise your hand to ask for a raise. I've stopped dreaming as much. I used to imagine a future where I could travel, buy a house, not worry about where the next paycheck was coming from. But now, all I can focus on is surviving. I've given up on things I thought I'd have by now. A weekend trip to a beach? A vacation to Europe? The new sneakers I've wanted for months? They all get pushed further and further away, while bills and the rising costs of everyday things take priority. It's frustrating. It's like I'm stuck in a loop where I'm always waiting for something to give, but it never does. I try not to dwell on it too much. Everyone else seems fine, right? I mean, they post about their new car, their latest trip, their cute dinner date at that fancy restaurant I can't afford. Social media makes it worse, because it's all these curated images of success. No one posts the struggle. No one talks about sitting in their car, checking their bank balance for the 4th time that day, praying they don't overdraft. I know I'm not alone, but in those moments, it feels like I'm the only one. It's exhausting, this constant mental load. Every time I make a decision, whether it's buying lunch, getting a coffee, even picking up a new book at the store, there's this quiet anxiety that comes with it. The voice in my head always says, "Is this really worth it? Can you afford it?" It's not about luxury, it's about surviving, about making the least damaging choice to my finances. I've gotten good at justifying my spending, rationalizing why I need this or that. I deserve it, I'll tell myself. But even then, the guilt follows me. I've started cutting back. No more spontaneous outings with friends. I've stopped going to the movies, stopped getting takeout on weekends, and I can't even remember the last time I bought a new shirt that wasn't from a discount store. I watch other people go out to eat or shop, and I smile and nod, pretending like I'm not mentally calculating what I could have bought instead. The worst part is that I don't even feel guilty for them. I just feel guilty for myself, for not being able to keep up, for not being able to give myself what I thought I'd have by now. And I wonder if I'll ever reach that place of stability, where I can just breathe. And then there's the future. I used to have dreams, big ones. I thought I'd be settled by now. But instead, I'm just scraping by, hoping I don't get sick or that my car doesn't break down. And if it does? Well, I guess that's when the credit card debt starts to pile up. I've learned that no matter how hard you work, no matter how many hours you put in, the goalposts keep moving. You pay off one debt, only to rack up another. I've given up on saving for the future because the future feels so distant. Right now, I'm just trying to make it through the week. Sometimes I think about what I could have done differently. Maybe I should have taken a different job, moved to a cheaper city, or avoided college altogether. But I also know that even if I'd made different choices, I'd still be here, struggling. The system doesn't give you much choice. You either play along, or you fall behind. I've learned to be resourceful, though. I make meals from what's left in the fridge, get creative with leftovers, and I'm constantly finding ways to save pennies, like reusing the same tea bag for a second cup of tea or using coupons for everything. I've become expert at navigating the world of discounts, comparing prices like a secret shopper. It's not glamorous, but it's survival. But there are days when it all feels like too much. Days when I look at the endless list of bills and feel like I'll never catch up. Days when the weight of it all presses down, and I wonder if I'll ever escape this cycle. Days when I cry for no reason, except for the fact that I'm just tired. Tired of fighting for a future that feels out of reach. Tired of seeing people around me move forward while I'm stuck in place. What really gets to me is the constant fear of failure. I've been conditioned to believe that if I just work hard enough, I'll succeed. But working hard doesn't always pay off. I've put in the hours, the effort, the energy, and yet the result feels the same, slowly sinking into a financial quicksand that keeps pulling me deeper. It makes me question my worth. Is my work not good enough? Am I not doing enough? I'm trying, though. I'm trying to hold on to hope. There are moments when I catch myself dreaming again, albeit with smaller dreams. Maybe one day, I'll have a little savings account. Maybe I'll even own a home, a small one, with a garden where I can grow my own vegetables. Or maybe I'll just have a weekend off where I can sleep in and not worry about the clock ticking down on my bank balance. But right now, I'm just trying to keep going. I'll make it through today. I'll make it through tomorrow. I'll find a way to pay the bills, even if it's by scraping together the last of my change. And maybe, just maybe, I'll get to a point where I don't have to count every penny, where I don't have to fear the future. Until then, I'll keep pushing through, even if it feels like I'm moving through quicksand. I've come this far, so I'll keep going. But I'll admit, I can't help but wish for a little more breathing room. A little more space. A little more hope. I wake up every morning to the sound of my alarm blaring, and it feels like a countdown. A countdown to another day of trying to make ends meet, another round in this exhausting game of survival. I roll out of bed, my body heavy with the same dread I've been carrying for months now. There's this gnawing feeling, like I'm always on the verge of breaking, but I just haven't yet. At 25, I thought I'd be in a different place. Maybe not rich, but at least comfortable, right? That's the dream they sell us growing up, work hard, be smart, and you'll be fine. But it's hard to stay hopeful when everything around you feels like it's designed to bury you. Rent keeps climbing. Utilities aren't getting any cheaper. Gas prices are a joke. And then there's food. I still remember when I could afford a few fresh vegetables each week. Now it's ramen and canned beans. Sometimes I think about the days when eating out used to be an option, even if it was just once a week. Now, it's a distant memory. I grab my phone and check my bank balance, already knowing what it's going to look like, a sad number staring back at me. There's just enough to get me through the next few days, and then I have to figure it out again. The thing about financial pressure is that it's not just about money, it's about the mental toll it takes. Every purchase, no matter how small, feels like a decision with too many consequences. I find myself calculating every dollar, every cent, trying to make sure it stretches. And I don't even have the luxury of buying the things I actually want anymore. Everything I buy is just what I need to survive. That's what it's come down to. Survival. I think about my friends sometimes. They're all in different places, but we all share the same underlying anxiety. Some of them are moving up, getting promotions, starting families, buying houses. Me? I'm just trying not to drown. There's a lot of guilt that comes with that, a lot of envy, too. I see their lives unfolding, and I wonder if I'm just doing something wrong. I want to be happy for them, but I can't help but feel like I'm stuck in quicksand, while they seem to be walking on solid ground. The other day, my friend Sarah posted a picture of her new apartment, really nice, with a big kitchen and high ceilings. I swear I spent 20 minutes just staring at the photo, imagining what it would feel like to live in a space like that. It wasn't even about the material things, it was about the sense of security, the space to breathe. But instead of feeling inspired, I felt this pit in my stomach. How could she afford that? How could any of us afford it? Sometimes I joke with myself, thinking, maybe I should just leave it all behind. Take a bus to the other side of the country and start fresh star. But I know that's just a dream. It's too expensive to travel. Hell, it's too expensive to even think about taking time off work. I'm stuck, and that's the worst part, the feeling of being stuck. It's not like I haven't tried to break free. I've applied to new jobs, sent out resumes, but the offers that come in are never quite enough. The pay is just low enough to make me think twice, and the cost of moving is always more than I can handle. I'm trying to move up, but the ladder keeps getting taller, and I don't have the energy to climb it anymore. At work, the pressure isn't much better. I'm constantly checking my email, answering calls, juggling tasks, just to stay afloat. I want to do a good job, I do. But the emotional toll of it all is wearing me thin. There's always a sense of urgency, always a deadline. There's no room to breathe. And when I do take a break, it's usually because I burned out enough to physically need one. I'll go to the coffee shop down the street, sip on a cup of overpriced coffee, and scroll through job boards. Maybe this will be the day I find something that'll get me out of here, but it's never the day. But even when I'm at my lowest, I try to find ways to cope. Sometimes it's small moments of escape, watching a show that makes me laugh, reading a book that lets me forget about reality for a while, or listening to music that feels like it understands me. Other times, I just let myself cry. It's not pretty, but it's real. I'll let myself break down for a few minutes, then pull myself together and get back to it. The hardest part, though, is the future. I don't know what's coming. I don't know how long I can keep this up. And that uncertainty is suffocating. I used to have dreams, big ones. I wanted to travel the world, maybe move to a new city, start my own business, something creative. But now, all of those things feel impossible. Every time I think about a future where I'm doing something I love, I remember the bills piling up, the rent that's due, the grocery list that never ends. My dreams feel like luxuries I can't afford. The worst part is that I'm not even sure who I am anymore, beyond all of this. Sometimes I feel like a collection of bills, obligations, and deadlines. Like the person I was before this financial strain doesn't even exist anymore. I used to have passions, things I cared about. Now, I'm just trying to get through the next day. I think about the life I imagined for myself, one where I could have the freedom to choose how I spend my time, not just my money. One where I don't have to constantly be in survival mode. But that life feels so far away now. I put everything on hold, my art, my dreams, even relationships. It's like I'm waiting for a moment when I'm not trapped by the weight of financial pressure, when I can breathe again. But that moment seems farther away every day. Maybe that's why I hold on to these small moments of joy so tightly, because they're all I've got. A text from a friend that makes me laugh. A walk in the park where I can forget for just a little while that I'm drowning in debt. The idea that maybe, one day, I'll get out of this, even if I don't know how. And maybe that's all I can do for now. Hold on. Keep going. Keep trying to get through the days, even if it feels like everything is moving against me. Maybe, just maybe, I'll find a way out of this. But for now, I have to take it one day at a time. The hardest part is hoping when everything around you seems to be falling apart. But I guess that's what hope is, isn't it? Holding on to something, even when you don't know how it's going to turn out. I wake up to the sound of my alarm, a sharp reminder that it's time to face another day. I drag myself out of bed, the weight of the world already pressing down on me. I'm 27, and I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of bills, expenses, and anxiety. The future, once something I looked forward to with dreams of possibility, now feels like a far-off land I'll never reach. The world around me keeps changing, and not in ways that make things better. Instead, it feels like I'm stuck, watching the cost of living rise faster than my ability to keep up. I don't know how much longer I can pretend I'm okay. I live in a small apartment in the city. It's cozy, but at $1,500 a month, it feels like a constant source of stress. I tell myself it's temporary, that one day I'll find something cheaper, something that doesn't eat up more than half of my paycheck. But that day never seems to come. Rent keeps increasing every year, and so do utilities, groceries, and gas prices. Meanwhile, my income stays the same. I've had a few raises at work, but they've been small, incremental, barely enough to cover the ever-rising costs of daily life. I've tried budgeting, cutting back, doing all the things people say to do when they're financially struggling. But it's never enough. I'm never ahead. I'm always just scraping by. Each month feels like a race against time. I wake up, go to work, and come home to a pile of bills that I can't afford to pay all at once. I get creative with payments, prioritizing what's most urgent. Rent, utilities, and food. Those are the essentials. Everything else? It can wait. The problem is, everything else doesn't wait forever. Credit card payments are due. Student loans are due. That unexpected medical bill from last month? It's due, too. And each one of them adds to the weight I'm carrying. I try to block it out, focus on the good things, the moments of peace when I'm sitting on the couch watching Netflix, or when I meet friends for coffee and pretend that everything is fine. But the truth is, I'm constantly stressed. I never feel at ease. There's always this low-grade anxiety that hums beneath the surface, a constant reminder that I'm one emergency away from disaster. One flat tire, one sick day, one broken appliance, and I'm screwed. The thought of losing my job, even for a short time, paralyzes me. I've been through layoffs before. I can't go through that again. It's not just the financial pressure that's wearing me down. It's the emotional toll, too. I feel like I'm stuck in a system that doesn't care about me or people like me. I'm doing everything right, working hard, trying to save, being responsible, but it feels like the harder I try, the further behind I fall. The cost of living keeps climbing, and I'm stuck at the bottom, unable to catch up. It's disheartening. It makes me question everything. What's the point of working so hard if I'm not making any real progress? Why does it feel like I'm always playing catch-up? I try to be positive. I try to tell myself that things will get better eventually. But the truth is, I'm starting to lose hope. I've had dreams, big dreams, that I've had to put on hold. When I was younger, I thought I'd be traveling the world by now. I thought I'd be in a stable job, able to afford my own home, maybe even start a family. Now, those dreams feel distant and unrealistic. I can barely afford to go out for drinks with friends, let alone take a vacation. A weekend getaway? Forget it. Even the smallest luxuries feel out of reach. And yet, I keep going. Every day, I wake up, go to work, and try to make it through the day without completely losing my mind. It's like I'm on autopilot, just going through the motions. I tell myself that if I can just make it through the next week, the next month, things will get better. But they never do. I cope by distracting myself. I scroll through social media, seeing the perfect lives that everyone else seems to be living, vacations, promotions, new cars, new homes. It makes me feel small, insignificant. I know I shouldn't compare myself to others, but it's hard not to. It's hard not to wonder why I'm struggling so much while it seems like everyone else has it together. I've also become good at pretending. I laugh along with my friends when they talk about their plans for the future, about buying houses and going on trips. I smile and nod, but inside, I'm aching. I can't keep up with their lives. I can't even keep up with my own. It's not their fault, it's just the way things are. But that doesn't make it any easier. I try to find comfort in the small victories. I paid off one of my credit cards this month. I managed to cook a decent meal at home instead of ordering takeout. I didn't have to dip into my savings to pay for an emergency. But those moments are fleeting. They don't change the bigger picture. They don't change the fact that I'm stuck in a cycle that feels impossible to break. Sometimes, I wonder if things will ever change. If I'll ever get out of this rut. If I'll ever be able to live the life I imagined for myself. The truth is, I don't know. I don't know if things will ever get better. I don't know if I'll ever be able to save for the future, let alone achieve the dreams I once had. But I keep hoping. Maybe that's all I can do for now, hope that one day, I'll catch a break. Hope that one day, I'll be able to breathe without the weight of financial pressure crushing me. For now, though, I just keep going. Because what else is there to do? There's a kind of weight I carry with me every day, one that doesn't go away when I wake up in the morning or when I close my eyes at night. It's not physical, but it might as well be. It sits in my chest, makes my shoulders stiff, and drags at my thoughts like a heavy chain. That weight? It's the constant pressure of living paycheck to paycheck in an economy that feels like it's not made for people like me. I'm 25, and I don't know what I expected adulthood to be like, but it certainly wasn't this. It's the relentless hum of bills, the anxiety of wondering if I'll have enough for everything this month, and the crushing realization that no matter how much I work, it never seems to be enough. I've got a full-time job that doesn't offer much room for growth. The pay is decent, but it doesn't stretch far enough. Rent is sky-high, groceries keep getting more expensive, and the smallest emergency can send everything into a tailspin. I wake up every day with a mental list of things I need to figure out. How much can I spend on gas this week? Do I have enough for food, or do I need to stretch my pantry? How many hours will I need to pick up this week to make up for the unexpected expense that popped up last month? And the worst part is, it feels like this will never change. No matter how much I save, it always feels like I'm just catching up to the next price hike. One step forward, two steps back. The thing is, it doesn't just affect me financially. It seeps into my emotional well-being, too. Some days, I feel like I'm just treading water. There's no room for joy, no space to breathe. All my energy goes into calculating, planning, and worrying. I'm constantly measuring everything, what I spend, what I save, what I'll need next month. If I'm not working, I'm thinking about working. If I'm not at work, I'm thinking about how much I have left to give before I burn out. It's not like I don't try to make the best of it. I get by. I do things to cope, small escapes, mostly. I take walks in the evenings to clear my head, scroll through social media to pretend like I'm living someone else's life for a while. I watch my friends travel, or buy new clothes, or post pictures of their apartments that look more like real homes than the barely decorated room I've been in for 2 years. I'm happy for them, but it's a sharp, bittersweet happiness. I want that too. I want to be able to take a trip without pulling out a credit card and worrying about the interest rates, or to not have to feel like I'm stretching my dollar just to survive. It's funny, sometimes, I think about my dreams, the ones I had before all this. I wanted to write. I wanted to travel. I wanted to live in a big city, get a little apartment with a view, maybe even have a career that felt fulfilling. But now? Those feel like distant things, like dreams for someone who isn't stuck here. I can barely make it to the end of the month without feeling the strain, let alone put any energy towards something bigger than just getting by. I used to be full of ideas, full of possibilities. I thought by 25, I'd have a clearer idea of who I was and what I wanted out of life. Instead, I'm stuck in this loop of survival mode. I think about my future and feel a kind of panic, like I'm never going to escape this cycle. The fear of always being behind, of never quite getting ahead, it haunts me. There are days when I just want to scream, when the whole weight of it feels like it's too much to carry. But then I think about what I'd be screaming about. Rent? Bills? Grocery prices? It all feels so mundane, so small compared to the bigger world. But the thing is, it's not small to me. It's everything. It's the difference between feeling like you're sinking or staying afloat. Sometimes I try to put things in perspective. There are people who are doing worse, who have it harder. I know that. And I remind myself that this is temporary, that maybe things will get better. But then the reality of inflation hits again, and I'm reminded that I'm not just struggling to keep up with the cost of living, I'm struggling to deal with the idea that it's never going to slow down. It's always going to grow faster than my income. Always. There's a kind of guilt that comes with being constantly exhausted and overwhelmed. I feel guilty for not being more or better. I know I'm working hard. I know I'm doing my best, but it doesn't feel like enough. It's like there's this invisible measure of success I'm never going to meet, not when the goalposts keep moving further away. I look at other people my age, and I wonder if they feel the same weight, if they're also struggling to make sense of a world that keeps changing faster than they can adjust. It's hard to talk about this with anyone. How do you tell your friends you can't afford to hang out? Or that you're constantly battling shame because you're not living up to some imagined standard of success that everyone else seems to have mastered? How do you tell them that you've had to cancel plans or forego opportunities because you don't know if you'll have enough money to cover it? Sometimes I feel like I'm failing, even though I know I'm doing the best I can. The dream of living freely, of being financially secure, has shifted. I've had to adjust. Now, it's just about surviving. It's about hoping that one day, I'll make more money, or that the economy will shift, or that something will give me the opportunity to finally breathe. Maybe it's naive, but I hold on to the hope that one day, I'll have the space to live without this constant pressure. But for now, I'm here. I keep going, even though every day feels like I'm on a treadmill that's set too fast. I cope with whatever I can, small moments of peace where I try to forget about the numbers in my bank account, or the rent that's always looming. I try to remember that I am more than just my financial situation, even if it feels like it defines me sometimes. It's a strange thing, being young and full of potential but feeling so restricted by circumstances. The world tells me I should have it figured out by now, but I'm still just trying to make it through another day. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm holding on to the small glimmer of hope that things will eventually change. That, maybe, I'll find a way to breathe again. Maybe that's all any of us can do, hold on a little longer. I wake up to the sound of my alarm at 6:30 a.m., the same time I set it every day, even though I don't need it anymore. My body's already trained to wake up early from the constant stress. The moment my eyes open, I feel it, tightness in my chest, a lump in my throat. Not a day goes by that I don't feel the weight of this financial pressure, like it's pushing me down, making it harder to breathe. I roll out of bed, my feet cold against the floorboards. I haven't been able to afford the heating for weeks. I pull on the same pair of jeans I've worn for months, my only pair of work pants now, and grab the wrinkled button-up I've had since college. I could almost swear it's gotten thinner over time, like everything else in my life, worn down, frayed, with little left to give. There's no time for breakfast, and honestly, I'm not hungry. I've become used to ignoring the gnawing hunger in my stomach. It's just easier to push through the day, to tell myself I'll eat later. Maybe I'll find something during my lunch break, but that's if I'm lucky. The walk to work is always the same, past the same coffee shop that I used to treat myself at, before everything changed. Back when I thought maybe one day I'd make enough to have my own apartment, to go on vacations without feeling guilty about spending money. Now, I pass the coffee shop, and the smell of fresh pastries just makes my stomach ache in a different way. I can't remember the last time I bought myself something just because it felt good. I can't remember the last time I did something just because I wanted to. My job is fine. I'm an entry-level admin assistant, and it's what I've been doing for the last 2 years since I graduated. It's nothing glamorous, but I should be grateful, right? At least I have a job, even if it doesn't pay me enough to cover rent without relying on credit cards that are always maxed out. But I can't help but feel that this isn't what I was supposed to be doing. The dreams I had when I was in school, those dreams seem so far away now. Every day, I sit at my desk, answering emails, organizing calendars, making phone calls, and pretending that everything's okay. But it's not. The weight of my financial situation always lurks just behind me, a shadow that I can't escape. I know exactly how much I owe in rent, in student loans, in credit card bills. I try to make a mental tally each month, to figure out how much I need to cut back in order to make ends meet. But every time I think I've got a handle on it, something new comes up, an unexpected medical bill, a sudden increase in my rent, car repairs that drain the last bit of savings I had stashed away. There's a part of me that feels like I'm treading water in a vast ocean, and every time I think I'm getting close to solid ground, another wave crashes down. By the time I get home in the evening, I'm exhausted. I've been running on fumes all day, and I know I won't sleep well. I haven't had a good night's sleep in months. I lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the things I should have done, the things I should be doing. The dreams I've put off, traveling to places I've only seen in pictures, pursuing a career that might actually excite me, going back to school, even just getting a dog because it's too expensive to care for one right now. I try to push those thoughts aside, but they come rushing back when I close my eyes. Most nights, I fall asleep to the hum of my phone, reminders of bills that are due, emails from my bank, alerts that I've gone overdrawn again. I don't remember the last time I felt truly at peace. My mind is always running through scenarios, how much longer I can keep living like this before it all falls apart. Sometimes, I feel like I'm suffocating, like the world is closing in on me, but I can't make it stop. Some days, I let myself dream. Just a little bit. I imagine a future where I'm not constantly checking my bank account, where I don't have to worry about where my next meal is coming from or how I'm going to pay for that car repair that's overdue. I imagine a place where the burden of bills and debt isn't always there, where I can finally feel like I've made it. But then the reality hits, and I'm reminded of how far away that future feels. This pressure has become a part of who I am now. I don't know how to live without it, and I don't know how to escape it. I feel trapped in a system that's designed to keep me running on this hamster wheel, where expenses always grow faster than income, where my dreams are constantly delayed, and where every choice I make is constrained by the ever-present fear of not having enough. I try to tell myself that I'm not alone in this, that there are others who are struggling just like me. But it doesn't make it any easier. I see people on social media, living lives that seem so carefree, and it makes me question everything. I want that life. I want to stop worrying. But I don't know how to get there. I've had to let go of so many things. Big dreams, small desires, just to keep my head above water. I postponed the idea of going to grad school because I can't even afford the application fees. I've given up on the idea of moving to a new city, finding a job I'm actually passionate about, or even going out with friends without the constant guilt of how much I'm spending. I think about the future and wonder if I'll ever get out of this cycle. Maybe one day, I'll be able to breathe again. Maybe one day, I'll have a steady job that pays well enough for me to live comfortably, to save for the things I've always wanted. But sometimes, I don't know if that day will ever come. I think about the things I used to want, living on my own, traveling the world, not having to calculate every penny I spend, and I wonder if those things will ever happen. Will I be stuck in this cycle forever? Will my dreams always be just that, dreams that never come true? But for now, all I can do is keep moving forward. I take it one day at a time. Maybe one day, it will all click. Maybe one day, I'll get to see the life I've dreamed of, a life where I'm not constantly struggling, constantly on edge. Until then, I hold on to the tiny, quiet hope that change will come. That somehow, I'll find a way to break free from this suffocating weight and make a life I can be proud of. But for now, I just keep going. Every day, I wake up, I survive, and I keep hoping that tomorrow will be different. But the pressure never really goes away. It's always there, just beneath the surface, quietly reminding me that I'm not free yet. And so, I keep moving forward. Hoping. Holding on. I wake up with a start, groggily pulling myself out of bed, and the first thing I do is check my phone. I know, it's not the healthiest habit, but I can't help it. The notifications flood in, bank alerts, reminders, and more bills, each one a harsh reminder of my financial situation. I'm 26, but some days it feels like I've aged a decade from the constant weight of worry. I'm working hard, but it never feels like it's enough. Each month, expenses rise, but my paycheck stays stubbornly the same. And every time I look at my balance, I feel the same knot tighten in my chest. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I went to college, got the degree, did everything that was supposed to set me up for success. I'd hear about the future, career, homeownership, vacations, and think, yeah, that'll be me. One day, I'll get there. But now I find myself living in a small, cramped apartment that eats up most of my paycheck. Rent goes up every year, and yet, my income doesn't. I try to budget, I really do. I cut out the luxuries, no more weekly coffee shop trips or dining out, and even the occasional Netflix subscription feels like a splurge. I've learned to make the most out of what I've got, stretching every dollar, finding the cheapest options for everything from groceries to toiletries. But even that doesn't seem to be enough anymore. Sometimes I wonder if this is just how it's going to be for me. Stuck in a system where nothing changes, where no matter how hard I work, no matter how many hours I put in, I'm still trapped. I can't even remember the last time I felt really secure. It's not just that I can't afford anything, it's that every financial decision is made under pressure. Should I buy groceries or pay for the doctor's appointment I've been putting off for months? Should I keep saving to pay off my credit card debt, or should I just go ahead and pay the rent that's due this week? There's always something, always a bill that's overdue, always a reminder that I'm just a few missed payments away from slipping even further behind. I wish I could just enjoy life sometimes. I wish I didn't have to weigh every decision against its cost. I dream of being able to take a break, take a vacation, see the world outside the cramped city I live in. I used to think I'd be traveling by now, maybe with a solid career under my belt, a place of my own. Now, I can barely scrape together enough for a weekend getaway, let alone something longer. That dream of freedom, of being able to enjoy life without the constant pressure, feels like a distant fantasy. When I scroll through social media, it's hard not to feel bitter. Everyone else seems to be going places, buying homes, living their best lives, while I'm stuck in the same cycle. I can't afford to make big plans, I can't afford to even think too far ahead. The thought of one small mistake, one unexpected cost, is enough to make me spiral. I cope by retreating into my routine. Work, home, rinse, repeat. I bury myself in productivity, telling myself that if I just keep working, I'll eventually catch up. It's a coping mechanism. I stay busy, too busy to stop and feel the weight of everything that's falling apart. The days blur into one another. But sometimes, when the house is quiet, and I have a moment to myself, I can feel it creeping up, the anxiety. What if I can't keep this up? What if I fall further behind and there's no way back? I've watched friends go through layoffs, see their jobs disappear, their savings drained. I don't want to face that. It's terrifying. I've learned to put off the things I used to dream about. The big vacation I'd hoped for? Maybe next year. The small home I'd always wanted? That's a pipe dream for now. I can't even imagine the possibility of being able to save for something as big as that. It feels like I'm constantly postponing my life, and each time I do, it becomes a little harder to believe those dreams are still possible. Some days I feel like I'm just going through the motions, not living, just existing, trying to get through the day. It's not that I don't want a better future, but it feels like I'm stuck on a hamster wheel, running faster and faster, and never getting anywhere. I keep telling myself that things will get better, but how can I believe that when the economy is like this? How can I believe that when all I see around me are people struggling to make ends meet? But then, on the rare occasions I can step back and breathe, I realize that it's not all hopeless. I've made it this far, even if I'm not where I thought I would be. I built a life, even if it's not exactly what I envisioned. And I hold on to that. I hold on to the fact that, even though the weight is heavy, I haven't given up. I keep going. Because what else can I do? I've learned to take it day by day, to find moments of peace in the chaos. I take joy in the little things, cooking a nice meal at home, reading a good book, catching up with friends, even if it's just for a few hours. I've realized that my happiness doesn't have to come from some far-off dream. It doesn't have to come from the things I can't afford. Maybe the future will change, maybe it won't. But right now, I'm holding on to what I can. I still dream, but now my dreams are smaller, more immediate. I dream of a day when I don't have to worry about money constantly. When I can walk into a store and not have to count every penny in my pocket. Maybe I'll get there eventually. Maybe it'll take time. But I'm not giving up on that hope. Even if it's not clear when, or how, that moment will come. For now, I'll keep putting one foot in front of the other. Because that's all I can do. It's funny how the smallest things, like a cup of coffee or a bus ticket, can feel like luxuries when your bank account is slowly bleeding out. Every month, I feel like I'm fighting a losing battle. It's not even that I'm spending recklessly, or that I don't work hard. It's just, I can't catch up. The gap between what I make and what I need keeps growing wider. I can see it happening, but there's nothing I can do to stop it. Take this morning, for example. I woke up early because I had to make it to work on time, work that I'm grateful for, but also dread, because I know how hard it is to keep it all together. I've been at this job for over 2 years now, and every year feels like a different chapter of struggle. Some days, I wonder if I'll ever escape the cycle. I made myself a quick breakfast, just cereal and milk, no coffee. I can't afford to get my usual latte anymore, not with rent coming up, not with utilities and credit card payments hanging over my head. I grabbed my bag and left my apartment, walking to the bus stop. I'd love to just take a car or an Uber, but I don't have that kind of money. I'm 24, and I can't afford a car. I know people my age who drive nice cars, go on weekend trips, and seem to have it all together. Meanwhile, I'm here, trying to figure out how to stretch $100 to cover groceries for the week and hoping the rent doesn't rise again. The bus is crowded, people pushing their way in, all of us sharing the same space of quiet desperation. There's something about the daily commute that feels like a reminder of how stuck I am. Every stop on the way to work feels like another knot tightening around my chest. At work, I can feel the pressure again. It's not just about performing my job well, it's about proving my worth in a world that seems to value everything in dollars. I sit in a cubicle, surrounded by people doing the same thing, answering emails, writing reports, putting in their hours, and hoping for a raise that never comes. I hear about raises at the company, but they never come my way. And when they do, it's not enough. I always hear that this is the year, but it never is. My paycheck is always just enough to cover the essentials, and then some months, it's not even that. The hardest part isn't the struggle to pay bills. It's the mental toll of it all. I don't know how to relax anymore. Every time I try, I'm reminded that I should be doing something productive. I can't go out with friends, even though I want to. I can't just take a break or enjoy a weekend without feeling guilty. My mind is always calculating the cost of everything I do. If I treat myself to dinner, that's money I could be saving for the future. If I buy a new jacket that's on sale, I'm adding to my debt instead of chipping away at it. I've had to cancel plans with friends more times than I can count. I know they don't mind, but I feel like I'm losing touch with everyone. They talk about vacations, new gadgets, concerts they went to, and I just smile and nod. I can't even remember the last time I treated myself to something like that. Even a night out at a bar feels like a financial risk. It's hard to have fun when the very idea of spending money makes your stomach tighten. There are days when I get home from work and just sit in front of my computer, scrolling through social media. I see people my age traveling, buying homes, moving up in their careers. And I wonder where I went wrong. I should have planned better. I should have saved more. I should have known this would happen. But I didn't. And now, I'm just treading water, hoping that one day things will improve. But here's the thing, it's not just the money. It's the pressure to constantly be on the grind. To always be hustling, doing more, never stopping. The economy right now is built on the idea that you're always supposed to want more, work more, be more. But when you're already giving everything you've got, it's exhausting. Every time I think about the future, it feels like it's slipping farther and farther out of reach. I've had to put off so many dreams. I wanted to travel. I wanted to learn a new language. I wanted to take that cooking class I always talked about. But when you're living paycheck to paycheck, those things are luxuries. And so, I tell myself that one day I'll get to them. One day, when the pressure isn't suffocating me. One day when I have enough money to breathe. I've been trying to save, but it's like running on a treadmill that's constantly speeding up. I've got my eye on a savings account, just enough to cover emergencies, but every month, something comes up, an unexpected bill, a repair that I didn't anticipate, a last-minute expense, and that money vanishes before I can even get a grip on it. I can't even remember the last time I saw a substantial amount of money in my bank account that didn't immediately have a purpose. Sometimes, I try to remind myself that I'm not alone. I know so many people are in the same boat. That's a small comfort, I guess. But I still feel like I'm failing. I feel like I'm failing because I can't make enough money, and I can't figure out how to get ahead. I'm doing everything right, right? I'm working hard, I'm not spending frivolously, I'm cutting costs wherever I can. But it's still not enough. I try to hold on to hope. I remind myself that things can change. The world feels like it's shifting beneath my feet, and maybe, just maybe, there's a chance that someday I won't have to live like this. But the days keep slipping by, and the fear grows. What if things never change? What if I'm stuck in this loop forever, struggling and barely making it? Some nights, I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what my life will look like in 5 years. I imagine myself in the same apartment, still figuring out how to make ends meet. I imagine myself with the same job, hoping for a raise, but knowing deep down that it might never come. I imagine my dreams, my travel plans, my passions, the things I put off, growing smaller and smaller, until they fade completely. But maybe that's the hardest part. The feeling of being stuck. The idea that no matter how hard I work, no matter how much I sacrifice, there's always something else standing in my way. It's like I'm constantly running a race I can't win. And yet, somehow, I keep going. Because what else can I do? Every day is a new chance to push through, even when it feels like I'm not getting anywhere. I keep telling myself that it will get better, that the sacrifices will be worth it in the end. I don't know if that's true, but it's all I've got. So, I keep moving forward, even when it feels like I'm moving in place. Maybe that's enough. I wake up to the sound of my phone buzzing, a constant reminder that my day has already started, whether I'm ready or not. It's not the gentle kind of wake up, it's the kind that feels like an alarm set off by the world telling me, you don't get to rest. You don't get to stop. I've been living paycheck to paycheck for as long as I can remember. But lately, it feels different. More pressing. The numbers never add up, and no matter how hard I try, there's always something I didn't account for. A surprise charge, an unexpected bill, an extra grocery trip I didn't plan for. The cost of living has been rising faster than I can earn, and I'm starting to feel like I'm drowning in it. I check my bank account first thing in the morning, as if somehow, overnight, some miracle might have happened and my balance would magically grow. But of course, it's the same story, barely enough to cover what I owe, and definitely not enough for anything extra. I'll scroll through my recent transactions, hoping for a mistake, but there never is one. It's always just the same, a slow drain on the little I have left. At work, the pressure feels relentless. I work full-time, and I've taken on extra shifts whenever I can, but it doesn't seem to matter. My job, like so many others, just isn't enough to keep up with the pace of inflation and rent hikes. I'm not in a career yet, just working a retail job that I can't seem to escape from. I know I should be grateful for the job, that people are struggling to even find one, but some days it feels like I'm trapped in this endless loop. I can't get ahead, and I can't leave, because leaving means finding something else that pays just as little or maybe even less. I think about how I felt when I was younger, how hopeful I was about the future. I had dreams back then. I wanted to travel. I wanted to go to grad school. I even had this vague idea of opening a small cafe one day. But those dreams, those big, exciting plans, are starting to feel like they belong to someone else. Not me. I'm not sure when it happened, when my hope became something fragile, something I try to hold on to but keep slipping through my fingers. Maybe it was when I first realized that I wouldn't be able to buy a house, at least, not anytime soon. Maybe it was when I started thinking that maybe I'd never even be able to afford a vacation. Or maybe it was when I first understood that a student loan repayment would haunt me well into my 40s, maybe 50s. But I know that moment arrived, and it's like a shadow hanging over me, making everything harder. Even in my downtime, I can't seem to escape the stress of it all. I go out with friends, but the whole time I'm thinking about how much the meal will cost, how much I'll have left in my account after splitting the bill. I try to enjoy the moment, but there's always this nagging fear that I might be one purchase away from tipping over into deeper debt. My friends try to reassure me, tell me I'm doing fine, that things will get better. They don't get it. They haven't felt what it's like to feel this constant, low-grade panic running under everything. Some days, I go to bed just wishing for a reset. Just a few days where I don't have to worry about how much gas is in my car or if my electricity bill is going to be higher this month. A few days where I can just not think about money. But those days don't exist. Every time I open my eyes in the morning, I know it's time to play the game again. And I can't help but wonder, when did this become normal? Why does it feel like the system is built to wear us down, to push us into working more hours, taking on more responsibilities, and still not being able to afford what we need? The people at the top just keep getting richer, while the rest of us try to keep our heads above water. And for what? So we can live in a world where we have to choose between heating our homes or eating out, where we can't afford healthcare or basic repairs, but we're supposed to believe that if we just work hard enough, it will all get better? I try not to think about the future too much, because it's overwhelming. But sometimes, I can't help it. I wonder if I'll ever be able to make a real change in my life. Will I ever be able to pursue something that feels meaningful to me, something that will take me away from this constant grind? Or am I doomed to stay here, stuck in a cycle where each day feels the same as the one before it? There are days when I feel bitter, when I feel like I've been cheated. It's hard to stay positive when the world seems stacked against you, when your entire future feels like it's been mortgaged away before you even had the chance to live it. But I try to hold on to the small victories, the moments when I can pay off a credit card bill, when I don't have to dip into my savings to cover something unexpected. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone in this, that other people are going through the same struggles. But it doesn't always help. I wonder, too, if I'm just too impatient. After all, I'm only in my mid-20s. Maybe things will improve if I just stick it out a little longer. But sometimes I feel like the world is pushing me into a corner, and no matter how much I try to break free, there's always something pulling me back. I think about all the things I've had to give up, the trips I've canceled, the career opportunities I've put on hold, the relationships that have suffered because I can't afford to go out or take a vacation. It all feels like a big sacrifice that doesn't have a clear end in sight. But I can't give up, right? Because there's always the hope that maybe, just maybe, things will change. Maybe I'll find that one opportunity that helps me break free from this cycle. Maybe I'll be able to afford the life I always dreamed of. I've had to put so many things on hold, but I tell myself that it's temporary. One day, I'll be able to live the way I want. I'll find my place in the world, a place where I don't have to think about every cent I spend. Maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe I won't. But right now, I just have to keep going. It's a strange thing, living in the in-between, the space where you're not giving up, but you're also not living the life you want yet. But I'll keep going, because what else is there to do? The alternative is even scarier. And maybe one day, when I look back, I'll see this as the part of my life that taught me how to fight. Maybe that will be the lesson I carry with me. But for now, I just keep waking up. I keep moving. And I keep hoping. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.